So wherever you have any clarifications, any query, please stop me. We can go for discussion. So let us come this one. If you see the sustainable development goal, that you can say zero hunger. Just 1 minute. See the zero hunger. So food security. What is food security? So food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meet their dietary needs. So that is a food security. But there are 4 pillars of food security, and you can see the food availability, food stability, access, and the utilizations. Availability, you can say through productions. So with the increasing productions, there is an increasing demand. So with the rising production, food can be available for the each populations. But the stability, this is the supply chains. How the food can reach each and every corner of the society. That is the supply chain management. We should have a good supply chain system so that the food can reach each remote corner of this globe. That's a stability in the food supply. Access is the economic access. That means economic well-being of each consumer. Suppose food is available in the market, but consumer has no buying capacity. So then he may not get the food. So consumers should have a buying capacity. Means the economic well-being, the economic capacity of the consumer should be enough to purchase the food. And the final one, the food utilizations. If you see this one, the top 3, there should be good production for the availability of the foods, and there should be the proper supply chain, seamless supply chain, so that food can reach each remote place, and there should be the economic well-being or the economic capacity of the consumer to buy the foods. The 4th one is the food utilization. So what does it mean? Food utilization is the bioavailability of the food in the human body. That means how food is utilized in the human body. That you talk about the balanced nutrition. Most of you see the children from the sub-Saharan Africa, even the Southeast Asia, the children do suffer from the undernourishment and malnutrition because there is an imbalanced supply of food. Even if you are taking the food, you cannot take only the carbohydrate or protein. You need a balanced diet. You need carbohydrate, you need protein, you need minerals, you need the fat, you need the vitamins. So that's a balanced nutrient. Once you have the balanced nutrient supply, then food can be well digested and that can be available for the human body functions. So utilization is very important, but utilization leads to the balanced diet, which many of us are suffering having a balanced diet. So these are the 4 pillars of food security. When this is achieved, then we can say food security. If you see the food security as per the UN data, about 1 in 10 people worldwide are suffering from the hunger. Majority world's undernourished, around 381 million, are still found in Asia. The number of undernourished in Africa is growing, is faster than anywhere in the world. And nearly 1 in 3 people in the world did not have access to adequate food. That means that the poor economic conditions, they don't have a proper economic condition to purchase the foods. And around 149 million children under the age 5 have suffered from stunting, and 47 million children under 5 suffered from the undernutrition. So these are the statistics from the United Nations. And what we see at the beginning of this millennium, around 800 to 900 million people were at risk of hungers. And most of them lived in Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. And for the current climate change, with the pessimistic scenario, you can say, with the strong global warming and high population growth and no carbon dioxide fertilization effect, the number of additional people, around maybe 500, 600 million people, may add in the hungers by 2080. So this is very alarming for the whole globe, not only for the Asian country, for the whole globe also. So how can meet the global food security with these conditions? So if you see the projected impacts of global warming, what is say, the rise in temperature 1, 2, 3, or 4 degrees Celsius as compared to pre-industrial era. So there will be falling in crop yield in many areas, particularly the tropical and subtropical climate. those most of the developing countries, they are located in tropical and subtropical climates, so yield is likely to decline. Whereas with only up to 1 degree or 1.5 degree rise in temperature, the yield may increase some of the temperate climates, but they will be also suffering. The yield will also adversely affected for any rise in temperature beyond 2 degrees Celsius. Similarly, the water, there is a significant decrease in the water availability in many areas. There is a variability in the sea level rise. That's also threatened major cities because of the climate change. And there is extensive damage to the coral reefs. The number of big number of species extinction is also there. And there is an extreme event, rising intensity of storms, forest fire, droughts, and floods. And heat waves, there is a very common, what you say, for agricultural point of view, climate change is a continuous process. But what the farmers are suffering, the in-seasonal weather variability. The rainfall may be same. If you see the eastern India conditions of the here where we are located, here the annual rainfall around 1500 millimeter. And around 80% of the rainfall received during monsoon seasons during June to September. We may get the same amount of rainfall, but there is a high variability. We may get a long dry spell, or we can get a heavy rainfall for the few days, and that may cause flooding. So this type of weather abnormalities is becoming very common in the recent years. And you can see the hottest year also, you can see 2024 also was one of the, in the recent past. There are many hottest years. 2024, one of the hottest year in the past years. So these are the large scale climate system is happening. So if you see the global hunger index, if it of climate change and food productions, and with the rising CO2 levels, make a double CO2 levels, it may happen there is a rise in temperature. So if you see the most of the tropical and subtropical countries, they will be suffering. The yield of the global food production will be affected because of the climate change, particularly in tropical and subtropical latitude. The green portions, there may be slightly increase in the yield of the temperate climate, but the rise in temperature only up to 2 degrees Celsius. Any further rise in temperature, the yield of the temperate climate, the food production of the temperate climate also will be affected. And the global hunger index, and this is very alarming for the Asian countries definitely. And if you see the India also, you can see India taking account this around now at present is 25.8 global hunger index, and out of 123 countries, India ranks 102 in 123 countries as global hunger index concerned, and this is alarming also because many children, child mortality, child stunting, undernourishment. So India has made some improvement as compared to 2016, but that is not enough. If you see the other countries around surrounding it, if you see only Pakistan is the one country that remains below India, but other countries like Sri Lanka, you can say Vietnam, Bangladesh, even in the Afghanistan also you can say those are the far ahead of the India if you compare the global hunger index. So still we have to do this. Though India is now self-sufficient in food grain productions, but there are some issues, this should be taken care to improve the global hunger index. As you're discussing, so we should know our health, because your health linked to the food, that's agriculture. So you are what you eat. Because it happens, the various activities can say excessive work. People, there is a body generates the free radicals and demands antioxidants and functional food to detoxify the free radicals. There is a generation of free radicals in the body. Either you go for the excessive work, smoking, polluted environment, chronic infection, or the stress. Stress means the mental stress, and that creates that information of the free radicals in human body, and that causes damage to the DNA. And finally, that leads to many diseases like cancer or the cardiovascular diseases. And what study says, even though you take the preventive nutrition, is proactive and holistic, generally boost human bodies on their repair mechanism and defense against odd factors like stress generating free radicals. But plant antioxidants are vital constituent in food which promote health defense by neutralizing or scavenging action of the free radicals. Free radicals they cause the damage to DNA. So free radicals has to be neutralized because it's a continuous formation of free radicals because of the work habit, the polluted environment, or the stress conditions that creates formation of the free radicals, and that's neutralized by the food intake of the food, good quality food. So this organic foods are much better that contains a higher content of the antioxidants. So this says because of the how the food related, the cardiovascular disease. So even the supplements did not prove beneficial in avoiding the heart problems. The foods that are source of antioxidants are still recommended to take so that they can neutralize the formation of free radicals and protect from the cardiovascular diseases. Eating diet rich in antioxidants containing foods such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains is linked to a reduced the risk of the cardiovascular diseases like heart attack. Similarly, asthma, to control asthma is symptomatic asthma that in adults associated with the low data intake of the fruits and the antioxidant nutrients and vitamin C. So the study shows if the person having as a low level of glutathione peroxidase is a antioxidant enzymes and the low level of HDL, high density lipoprotein, and the are up to 60 times more likely to die from cardiovascular disease as compared to patient having the low level of the HDL and high level of glutathione peroxidase. So having the antioxidants enzymes that helps in protecting from the from the cardiovascular disease and several other diseases. So just example like how we are concerned about the human health. You see the average daily intake of the organochlorine pesticide in India. If you see I'm giving the Punjab data in 2001, 2002. So if you take the intake of the dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane pesticide microgram per person, this is published in also 2009 in a journal publication. It's a science, it's all fact. Say it was 2.2 in 2001, that increased to 8.17 in 2002 in vegetarian diets. In non-vegetarian diet from 13.6 to 27.2. There's a huge jump in intake of the organochlorine pesticides. Similarly, the pesticide composition in the human milk that you can see in countries like developed country, Canada, Australia, India. In these years, the chlorinated hydrocarbon dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethanes, the levels are around 23, 80, 19, and 473, 90, 395 as nanogram per gram of lipid weight. You see, in some of the Indian locations where the contents are around 80 times, 50 times higher as compared to developed country. And particularly, you can see the Punjab region, Ludhiana, the SCS, chlorinated hydrocarbon was 5290 nanogram per gram, and the DD was 17,910 nanogram per gram in 1993. But that's a good that in 2012, this concentration has gone down. Awareness and interventions by the governments how to minimize the use of the chemical fertilizer, chemical pesticide. Because more number of patients that are suffering from cancer in Punjab regions, they move because there's probably one train is named as cancer train that moves from the Punjab region, Rajasthan region for the treatment. So the health point is the health is linked to the food you take. If you don't take a good food, you don't take good, so that will affect the human health. Soil also affected area, and that linked to the human health having the bad quality, the bad agriculture, bad practices of agriculture that pollutes the soil, that pollutes the environment, that pollutes the food quality as well. So say the organic farming, that is one of the how we can go at these ones that provides a better quality, definitely better quality of the food having the no pesticide residue, or having the that can be applied either by having the biofertilizer, biopesticides that can minimize to some extent the use of the chemical fertilizer and chemical pesticides and protect the human being from the adverse effect of the chemical fertilizer, chemical pesticide. Earlier, people are suffering from cancer or the diabetics, cardiovascular disease, people living in cities, polluted area. Now in village, this disease is spreading like anything, but we need to do change the agricultural practice to bring a healthy environment and healthy living. These are the basic background of how we can agriculture related to human health. So you can see around the population is increasing, so expected around 9 billion by 2050. this is a challenge how to meet the food requirement of such a growing populations. If you see the history from 1961 to 2000, the global population increased by 98%. At the same time, the food production increased by 146%, and yield was more than double definitely. Arable land increase was very less, 10%. But what happened? The so high increase in yield, that is because of use of the agricultural inputs. The nitrogen fertilizer use increased by 7 times. Phosphatic fertilizer by 3 times. Irrigation water also used double in agricultural purpose. So because of the intensive use of the agricultural inputs, there is an increase in production and also developed technology, good quality by the variety, high yielding variety that has came. But this is not enough. We need to go still more. From 2010 to 2050, there is a need to increase the around 70% increase in food demand. How to go ahead? How to do that one? How to meet the food demand? So I can say there is a 3 aspects. So can you go for the either the to meet the global food security through how the 3 aspects how to meet global food security, the linkage between the food security and how the technology can helpful to meet the global food security. So the number 1, the reducing demand. Can you limit our demand, the food demand? And the number 2, the filling production shortage through technological interventions, how we can minimize the yield gap. And the number 3, the avoiding loss from the current production due to climate change or other related issues. So the first one is the reducing demand that has to be controlled by the awareness. Public awareness is very important. How to minimize your requirement, how to restrict your requirement, because there is a lot of you are wasting a lot of food, and also sometimes we take a lot of food, the food which you don't at all require. So overconsumption is not going to add to the health value of any human person. Overconsumption is going to reduce the health value. So sometimes we go for overconsumption, the food value and the requirement of the adult for the daily requirement, that should be calculated according to the food should be taken by the human being, not to overeat and not to waste the foods. If you take overconsumption and wasting, then you can minimize also the food wastage. That also can add to the food demand. So this you need to stop this one. Either the food wastage, either this needs a public awareness and education system how to combat these ones. And the filling production shortage is a technological intervention, where the research institutes are looking for how we can increase productions using as a precision agriculture, as a modeling, and as a urban agricultural systems, use of the urban agriculture and increasing the area and urban agriculture, or use of the machine learning technique to have a maximized production to minimize the yield gap due to the limited use of the resources or the resource efficient production. And the third one, avoiding losses from current production, that can be either breeding technology, so have the varieties cultivars that's as a resistant to pest and diseases and tolerant to stress like floods, water stress, or drought stress, or the GM crops a question also. So some of the technological intervention can be taken up for the filling the production shortage, avoiding losses, but reducing demand is a public awareness, same our education system, how to minimize these ones. So with this we have the sustainable development strategy and climate smart agriculture. You say climate change is a continuous process, and the development we cannot separate these. You can't see it independently. Now climate change and development has to go on parallel. There the climate is continuous one, and development has to be integrated climate change sustainable development strategy. So for that we need to see how the agriculture can be sustainable and profitable and with a good food quality. And the key indicators of agriculture we have to take into account: water, soil health, land conversion, pollution, and climate change. How to have the more production per unit of water used, how to maintain the soil health, not to deteriorate the soil health, and land conversion from the forest land, conversion to agricultural land conversion should be checked and stopped. Pollutions, use of the pesticides, chemical fertilizers should be minimized, and to avoid the pollution of the soil, air, and water pollution should be checked. And the agricultural practices should be refined or retuned to minimize the emission of the greenhouse gases from agricultural field to avoid the climate change. So these are the 5 indicators of sustainable agriculture which needs to be taken account for the climate change sustainable development strategy. So that's what the core agriculture, you can say. We need the conservation of resources and the you can say organic input management. The agriculture should be resource efficient. That means should digital and mechanization. So to make a profitables and to make a very precise use of inputs, it should be digitized. Use of the crop modeling scenarios or the site specific, and mechanization is a must to make the use of the resource very efficiently to minimize the loss of resources, to have the maximum use of resources. And it should be also environmental impact should be zero. This should have a net impact on the environment should be zero. Agriculture should not emit any greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. It do not make pollution. So if you make this one, the agriculture as a conservation of resources and the organic input management, resource efficient through digital technology and mechanizations, and has less impact on environment, that agriculture can be sustainable, and also that can be climate adaptive technology. And this, if you are, as you are looking for the, if you have any question from here, if you can stop me, I can respond to you. This is a very basic one I have discussed with you. So if you have any question, please. Then I'll go to modeling scenario. Any person, any question? So if no, can I proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
So we are looking for the crop modeling. So crop modeling is a so we have the experiment and decision support system that's based upon soil, plant, atmosphere management. So if you see a rice crop here, rice is grown under the standing water. Usually rice does not require standing water saturation. Most of the cases, rice grown under the flooding conditions. So the thick black colored line is the soil layers. Above this is standing water, and this is the soil. If you see what the crop requires the soil. This is the soil ecosystem. This is the atmosphere, solar radiation, temperature, precipitations, and this is the plant. These are the 3 components. Those are fixed, you can say. Soil is fixed. Atmosphere is, weather parameter is fixed for a particular locations, and you have a particular genotype, the seed is fixed. So what we want to change to maximize production, we want to focus on management. So management is the 4th factor where most of the scientists and engineers, they are working on how to change your alter your management practices so that you can maximize production from limited resources of land, water, and other resources. That was the production maximization, technological interventions for production maximizations. So I give a small example. Suppose you are applying the fertilizer like urea, the nutrient required for the crop development, for the yield maximization. So where to apply this urea fertilizers? The topsoil. The option is you can apply in topsoil, cloud water, where the standing water, or you can apply the few centimeter below the soil surface. This is a oxidized layer, the soil, or you can apply the deeper layers. So if you choose the layer where you can apply, you get the maximum resource use efficiency, maximum use of the fertilizer and the production. In practice, in field experiment, in reality, application should be done at the bottom layer, reduced layers. If you apply fertilizer in the deeper layer, it has the maximum resource use efficiency. It can maximize the productions. And this, if application technique is also included in the crop modeling. You see, crop modeling, like the real field experiment, you need the 4 factors, 4 major components, like your soil is 1 factor, weather is another factor 2, the seed genotype factor 3, and the management, how do you manage the soil, that is factor 4. These 4 factors are essential for crop productions. In crop modeling also, these 4 factors act as a 4 file input file for crop yield simulation. One is your soil file that contains your soil properties. One is the weather file that contains weather informations, and one is your the seed or the genotype file that contains plant characteristic, genetic characteristic, and fourth one is the management file that contains management information. So if you in real field experiment, you apply fertilizer deeper layer, you will have the maximum resource efficiency. Model also replicates same process. In model that factor is taken into considerations the depth of fertilizer applications where you can apply so that your yield will be higher. Availability of nutrients is much better and yield is higher. So these effects are taken in the crop modeling and simulations. So if you go for crop modeling model development process, so model development is a knowledge engineering and domain relationship. So where we have the domain experts are there, scientist, engineer, they have the expertise in the crop physical behavior, biophysical parameters, how the crop behaves. They collect the information data through intensive field experiments, the how the management that influence the yield of the crops, a particular soil and the weather type and the seed type, and then integrate with the knowledge engineering. The computer professional or mathematicians, they integrate together to develop a model, which takes a long time-taking process because you have to develop the algorithm, you have to develop the relationship functions, then develop the model. Once a model is developed, then you go for the simulation output that is nothing but the solving the model. Like I can say y is equal to a plus. Suppose you have the x is the input parameters, y the output parameters. To develop relationship y is equal to a plus bx or a plus bx square, either linear or quadratic. So that is done through model development process. But how to solve if suppose y is equal to a plus bx for any value of x, how to get the value of y? That is the simulation output. You do the programming language, using programming language, you put a value of x, get the value of y. That is simulation output, which is very instant. No, once your programming is ready, you put any value of x, you get a corresponding value of y. That is what simulation output. But this does not take time. Model development is a time-consuming process. Simulation is instant process. But through simulations, we generate the informations. These are the steps of through simulation. We generate information, we generate data, knowledge creation that can be helpful for as a decision maker. We can say that goes to decision maker or those who benefit. The whole system we can say knowledge engineering and the domain relationship that gives the information system that creates the using this model simulation. We get the information, we get data, we get the knowledge. But then how the data can be translated, can be transferred to the real end users. End users, those who benefit, are the decision maker. That's the decision making process. Model gives some output, but decision maker that he analyzes the model output and some actual the real scenario, then he gives a decision that goes to the beneficiaries. So here what we are doing, we are mostly lacking the simulation output to simulation use. There are many information generated from the simulation modeling exercise, but very few information that percolate to end users. Most of the information remain in the either in the research publications or in the laboratory, and that may not transfer to the real field, lab to land. If you say lab to land transformation is very slow. There may be the process is very. This process needs to be fast and so that the technology developed that should be tested and used by the end users. Then only development can be some useful. That's useful. Say simulation output the usable. There many are usable, but those information should percolate to the end users. So if you see the crop modeling scenarios, so there are two goals are there. We say one is scientific goal, the other is engineering goal. Scientific goal is the model development process. I discussed the first one, the first model development. That is what is scientific goal. For that, we make experiment, we create a hypothesis. According experiment is created, based upon the experimental information, model development process is a loop. So this takes around, this takes time taking process. Once you have the experimental data collection, develop the models, then go for predictions. Then test prediction. This is the very key factor. Test predictions here. The output may be very good because that may be matching the real field experiment. It may happen the output is not matching the real field experiment. In that case, again you have to change your hypothesis, go for the new research. Again, model development process continues. But once you have model ready, the mostly we are working on the engineering goal, application of the model. Once you have the model available, then you have to go for the calibration, validation of the model for your own locations. Then go apply the models and make the management decision support, and that process engineering goals and decision support. The decision what decision take, that is communicated to the end users, or either, but in our case we got definitely the farmers or the universities. They communicate the end users what should be done, what is the like agricultural operation, what's the planting window, what the irrigation level, what the fertilizer level, so that we can minimize any adverse effect, we can maximize the production with the unit use of the input resources. That is what the engineering goal, application of the model for different scenarios. And see the crop models that are available for the different production situations. We have the actual productions, attainable and potential productions. So actual production, the production we get in the farmer's field only, and where the farmers used to take care of the weeds and pests and diseases, but not the water or nutrients. So this is the field, the yield we get in farmer's field. That is actual yield. The yield protecting measure only farmers take the weeds and pests and diseases. This yield take care of weeds and pests and diseases, and yield is reduced because of the inadequate water and inadequate nutrients. So that's the actual yield. Once you take care of the pest and diseases, and then water and nutrient, if you take the yield limiting factors, they are the water and nutrients, you take care of the water and nutrients, the yield you get the attainable yield. Attainable yield is the yield you get in experimental stations or research stations. And this is what we are looking for to get the attainable yield, how the yield gap, you say, yield gap, the difference in yield production between the attainable yield and actual yield. Actual yield, the farmer's field yield, attainable yield, the experimental station yield. If you can reach this yield gap, we can reach the attainable yield. And most of the in India also can say the places the yield gap varies from some states can say Tamil Nadu south in northern India, Punjab, Haryana, their yield gap is very low, within 10%, 15%. But some states you can see eastern India, like Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, sometimes yield gap is more than 50%. So there is a scope, huge scope, and there is a to have technological interventions, how you can improve, how you can minimize the yield gap and reach the attainable yield. And after attainable yield, if you take care of the other parameters, then you can reach the potential yield. And potential yield, you provide everything optimum. The crop is not suffering from pest and diseases. The crop is well supplied with water and nutrient. Well supplied means the optimum water and nutrient, not excessive, not the deficit. Optimum water and nutrients, and the crop gets the optimum other parameters. Then you get the potential yield, which hardly which we don't target, because this only you can go for the controlled environmental experiment where you can get the potential yield, but we cannot go for the open field experiment. So for us, for the open field experiment, we are targeting for the attainable yield, how we can reach attainable yield, and models are used to give decision as a make decision how to reach attainable yield by changing the input management. Example, I can give the crop models. So there are state variables are the main drivers in the crop models. The state variables that they track the accumulated like the growth that lead to biomass productions, development that lead to phenological progress, and resource change like soil, water, nutrients. We modify dry matter, leaf area index, nitrogen. These are the state variables. Soil, water, soil, that variable that changes over time are state variable. Leaf numbers. Then these are the state variables like physiological variable, dry matter, leaf area index, nitrogen. Environmental variable, soil, water, soil temperature, radiations. Developmental variable, leaf number, developmental index, developmental stages, growth stages. These are the state variables. And this does not, you don't, because this we all management inputs, the socio-technical one. So these are the model having most state variables. That model is a robust model that is a better predictions. I'll give you example of how the model working principles. Model works as an inflow and outflow process. If you think of a water tank example, the flow of water, the two tanks are there, tank 1 and tank 2. They are kept below each other. flow of water tank 1 and flow of water out of tank 1, flow of water from this orifice to tank 2, and flow of water from this. So I'm not going through this one. This takes the inflow and outflow relationship. So based upon that relationship, crop models are developed. Because we crop models, we calculate the photosynthesis, net photosynthesis, gross photosynthesis, that is the flow of the total photosynthesis minus loss of photosynthesis through respirations. Net photosynthesis is converted to the biomass. So I think it's a very technical one. I am not going to say water tank. So this concept is used, and that is made in this flow diagram, making the flow charts using the symbols, forester symbols, how to represent the crop model or the model scenario, the source where the water comes. This is the rate variables, inflow of water to tank 1. This is state variables. You can say volume of water tank 1. So inflow of water to tank 1. Then outflow of water from tank 1 to tank 2 is the rate variables that depends upon several parameters. And then again the outflow of water from tank 1 to out. This is also rate variable that depends upon several parameters and coefficients. So with this, taking at this, the crop models like a potential crop sensor models that is also created, like is a potential assimilation rate minus maintenance rate, you get the net assimilation. And the net assimilate is converted to the growth rate, driver growth rate through conversion efficiency, almost 70% assimilate that converted to tissue formations. And also this tissue formation, how much tissue go to the canopy dry matter, how much tissue go to dry matter, the partitioning function that decide the how much the percentage, maybe 60% goes to canopy, 40% goes to root, or 80% goes to canopy, 20% goes to root. That depends upon the developmental stage of the crop. That is also the state variables. So as per state of development, that partitioning that changes. So there is a this with this. So we get the canopy dry matter, and from here also we go for partitioning harvest index. We simulate the grain yield. This is how the grain yield simulated using the models. So there are different models are there available. The major Opust, Epic, Aquacrop, Orija, Sticks, and Infocrop, and also CropSist also. So there are several crops are there. Mostly my group here we are using DSAT, and also the DSAT is well calibrated, well tested model all over the world globe, and it has several crops. Around 45 crops are available in a single platform. DSAT platform. There are also these crops. You can see the modeling principles almost all the models like as a all the modeling principles remain same, almost all the models. So we'll discuss about the more on this DSAT. So DSAT have the as a three can see the main driver, main program, and the land unit modules and the primary modules. So these are the three main modules in the DSAT. So land unit module, this the index, the connecting unit between the main program and the primary modules are the weather. As you say, the four major components of the crop management. Weather is a primary weather modules, management modules, soil modules, and the plant module. So these are the three modules are there, and it's a sub module. You can see weather means contain all the solar radiation, temperature, rainfalls. Management modules include the planting, harvesting, irrigation, fertilizer, residue tillage, soil atmosphere, soil temperature, soil evaporation, soil module, soil physical properties, chemical properties, soil organic matters, and the plant module, plant genetic coefficient, and also they have pest damage. So these are the four major modules we are there for in the DSAT, and you have the main program, and this is the land unit module that integrate the program to give the preferred output. And these are the major crops are there for cereals. In case of the DSAT model, you have the different modules in DSAT platform. We have the cereals crop, cereals model, crop environment resource synthesis model. That is for mostly cereal crops, rice, wheat, maize, sorghum, millets. Crop grow. So that's into all the pulses, soybean, peanut, dry bean, chickpea. So these are the crops which are simulated with the crop grow model. Subster for the root and tuber crops, potato and cassava. Can grow for the sugar canes, and forage modules also there. So there almost you can see This at last we have the version 4.8.5. So almost 45, more than 45 crops are there. It's a comprehensive package that includes cereals, pulses, root, tuber, oilseed, forage, fiber, vegetable, sugar, and fruit crops. So using this DSAT, I'll just give some of the research outcomes, how this is simulated using the DSAT model. We have simulated the effect of the climate change on rice production of different cultivars. What you see, also we have the experimental understanding in the controlled environmental experiment, rising the CO2 level 100 ppm and rising temperature by 1 degree Celsius. This is our experimental finding. We have different cultivars they are grown in a controlled environment, open top chambers. So we can see this is the experimental value. When you want to go for simulation, the experimental value and simulation they are matching well. So that gives us as a support, we can apply the model for different scenarios. You see the model applied for the different rise in CO2 and temperature. So there is a decrease in yield in most of the cases. Only cases where the rise in CO2 there is an enhancement yield, but the rise in temperature there is a decrease in yield. But only variety, all the varieties, the yield is negative, affected, is reduced with the rise in CO2 temperature. The only variety you can say Bassabho, the centered rice, where we have seen that there is a certain rise in yield with the rising carbon dioxide and temperature. And this is also applied for different climate change scenarios. We have seen the similar effect of the high CO2 and temperature. Similarly, we have developed, using that model, we have developed the temperature optimum, which is required for the crop weather calendar. The optimum temperature required for a particular crop. Using the crop modeling analysis, we have developed the optimum weather parameters, Tmax, Tmin, solar radiations, are different growth stages for hybrid rice using this crop model. And for different, like active paniculation, panics to head and head to maturity. And these are the stages where you have those temperatures are highly significant, and what are the values that has been developed using this crop modeling and simulation exercise. And we have used that model, suppose Ceres model used for the rice yield simulation for different planting time. And this the box you can see, this is the experimental understanding, experimental results, and the line is the simulation value. So you see, whenever you have only except these cases, all the cases, the experimental value was closer to the simulation value. Only in this case, they say the experimental value is lower than the simulated value. But this gives us some understanding how you see the delay in planting time for the Eastern Indian conditions. There is a sharp decline in yield because of the non-available rainfalls, the late planting periods. And similarly, we have gone for the potato yield simulation using the DSAT models. So that gives us understanding what is the optimum planting time. If you see the potato planting, the yield from 1st November planting to 30 December planting, we see this is the periods where we get the maximum yield. 30 November, around 30 November, you can go for either the 20 November or the 5 December, the planting time, you get the maximum yield. And that gives the weather parameter conducive for attaining the maximum productions. So this type of information you generate through model exercise that is communicated to farmers to have a particular planting window, sowing window to maximize the productions. And so the farmers are advised through agromet advisory services. We advise farmers for the planting window according to land preparation to have maximum production potato crop. And also using model, we have found the optimum weather parameters. The red color shows optimum weather parameters like maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and the solar radiation that should be required for maximum production. So once you know future weather forecast and we have the climate normals available with us through modeling exercise, then we can know based on the future are the extended days forecast or seasonal forecast. We can advise farmers the particular planting time, the planting window, so that the maximum production can be attained the prevailing weather. And similarly, the nitrogen management. So we go for the site-specific nitrogen management using green seeker. We can know the information about the NDVI values of the crop field. So in case of the conventional applications, we assume that there is the same NDVI, same nutrient level. So we apply a constant fertilizer, but not the case. So there is a variability in the soil fertility in the field, and similarly variability in the crop appearance. So NDVI value varies because of the variability in soil fertility. The requirement of nutrient different as per the soil. So if you see for the NDVI value, the requirement nutrients are different, but we are applying a constant amount. So site-specific nutrient management using the remote sensing technique to know the NDVI value, then you can recommend the fertilizer level so that your production can be maintained and the resource wastage can be checked with optimal resource use efficiency. And also as discussing organic farming, the climate change, organic farming, and greenhouse gas emissions. So we have seen the greenhouse gas emission is higher in case of the chemical fertilizer treatment. CF is chemical fertilizer, BC the vermicompost. Control no application of fertilizer. If you apply chemical fertilizer, there is around 3,500 kg carbon dioxide per hectare per cycle in case of the rice. So this causes global warming, high chemical fertilizer. But you go for the integrated or the vermicompost application, the emission is much lower. Similarly, the kg CO2 per kg of the kg CO2 emission per kg of rice grain, maximum in case of the chemical fertilizer treatment, but lower in case of the organic nutrient management. So using this the organic the nutrient management, if you see if you use only chemical organic fertilizer, full organic fertilizers, your yield loss becomes only 9%. We are reducing the global warming potential around 41% as compared to chemical fertilizers. If you go for the integrated nutrient management, combination of organic chemical, yield loss only 4%, but global warming potential reduction around 29%. So around 30% there is a global warming potential reductions with maintenance of similar yield as of chemical fertilizers. So we do recommend not to go for the completely organic that causes no huge requirement of input availability question. Go for the integrated use of the organic and the chemical fertilizer. You can maintain the yield at the same time, so you can minimize the global warming potential of agricultural production. So this is also using the DNDC model, crop model. We have simulated the greenhouse gas emission for different future scenarios like 2030, 20. So here also we have seen with the use of the either vermicompost or the integrated nutrient management, we can minimize the emission of greenhouse gases as compared to chemical fertilizer. These are the chemical fertilizer line that gives the maximum emission of greenhouse gases. And this is our research facility to measure the greenhouse gases emissions of carbon dioxide from the crop field. So then you come to water management. So usually when you go for the rainfed farming, so on-farm water, on-farm reservoir, on-farm pond is essential to store the excess rainfall which can be utilized for livestock irrigation of the crop in the post-monsoon seasons. So with this, you can go for rice. Rice is shown earlier is grown as a standing water, but rice can be grown under as a drip irrigation systems. Using drip irrigations, we can grow rice crop and we can maintain same yield as of the potatoe transplanted rice. Very slightly minor yield, maybe 10% yield reductions, but we can save a lot of water. Around 40% water can be saved. It's a drip irrigated rice water requirement and the potatoe transplanted rice water requirement. Around 40% water can be saved in drip irrigated rice as compared to conventional transplanted rice with minor yield penalty, around 10% yield loss. We can, but then you can save around 40% of water. Similarly, for the potato, as per the modeling scenarios we have seen, can you go for the as a drip irrigation? Definitely, drip irrigation and the conventional irrigation for irrigations. So drip irrigation gives the higher yield as compared to conventional irrigations. And drip irrigation, limited irrigation, and also have been mulch and null mulch. Mulching of the potato field with the straw, rice straw, because in Eastern India conditions, rice potato is a cropping system. After harvest of rice, the farmers used to go for potato. So straw of rice, instead of burning the rice straw can be used as a mulching purpose for the subsequent potato crop. In this case, the resource used because it conserves the loss of moisture, it can protect the soil moisture. Water requirement is much lower in case of mulching. At the same time, the productivity, tuber yield is much higher in case of the mulch as compared to no mulch treatment. So we have seen here by using the drip irrigations, we can save 30% of irrigation water. But if you go for the drip irrigation with the mulching, we can save around 40% irrigation water. So this is a very useful information for the farmers. We can apply the rice straw that can be stored, that can be used as mulching for the potato crop to store the rainwater, to store the soil moisture, and to have maximized production. At the same time, wheat growth is much lower in case of the mulch plot as compared to non-mulch plot. So you have seen that one water used for the per kg of rice and potato. Conventional irrigations, for 1 kg rice, there is use of 2,000 to 3,000 liters of water. And for 1 kg potato, we need around 150 to 200 liters of water. If you go for drip irrigation mulching, for 1 kg rice, you need only 1,200 liters of water, and 1 kg potato, we need around 90 liters of water. So this amount of saving, around 40% water can be saved. You go for the mulching practice with drip irrigation. We have gone for simulations. Simulation also shows with mulching, yield is much higher. Is the observed tuber fresh yield and simulated tuber trace weight. You can see with mulching, these are the mulch, the dark color, and the shaded color is non-mulch. With mulching, there is a higher productivity as compared to non-mulching. This is the observed production and also simulated. Simulated you capture the observed one. You can see the two plots of the mulching one, non-mulch one. Non-mulch we have the wood growth, but mulching plot with straw mulching there will be less wood growth, and this has been as a mimicked in the crop modeling simulation to have the similar understanding. Of course, we are using the machine learning technique. So there is a use of the machine learning technique to go for the disease detection. Now this many students from not only agricultural engineering, even the students from the computer science and engineering, management discipline, they are working on how to use image processing to detect the crop image. So using the RGB image based processing, we can detect the image. We can either the fungal or the bacterial infections. So we have done some work for the lettuce leaf. So use the image processing. So we identified the disease. So that helps on pre-understanding. Whenever there's the appearance of disease, we can detect. Otherwise, it takes a long time for the appearance, then go for detecting a disease and control measure. Through image processing, that immediately the disease or the pest can be detected and control measure can be recommended for the farmers to save any the damage of the crops. So from our understanding, we have got around bacteria, we can detect around 95%, healthy leaves 96%, fungal leaves 84% through the image processing. So this the confusion matrix shows out of the 100 leaves we have taken for bacterial leaves, 95 could be correctly detected, only 5 leaves was a misdetected as a fungal disease. Similarly, out of the 100 true leaves or healthy leaves, 96 are the very strongly correctly detected, and only 3 goes for the as a bacterial infection, 1 goes for fungal infection. Similarly, for the fungal leaves, 84 leaves are the correctly detected, and only few are the 15 are the bacterials, and the one is misinterpreted as the healthy leaves. So the level of accuracy that varies from the bacterial, fungal, and healthy. Healthy leaves is 96%, and the bacterial disease can be detected very nicely. But fungal, there is some issue, there is some misconception. But still, you are working for development of model, that's a programming, so that we can get more accuracy, and that helps the proper detection and the according the control measure. And the other aspect, you can have the zero emission agriculture, integrated farming. This is a very concept. We can go for the less emissions, so that we can go for the farmers' remunerations. We can go for the pond, or the fish farming, or the cattle and the poultry mixed together. That earlier it was the concept. Now because of advanced techniques, so the concept has vanished. But we need to come back to same concept as a cooperative way. If you can maintain integrated farming systems, that can give a better environment at the less emission of agricultural inputs. And in that, whether you can for digital technique, the tools, you can use the ATI machine. That can be a soil analyzer machine in the village panchayat levels. The farmers should know what is the soil properties. Now there is soil health testing, soil health card is issue. Whether a laboratory for the soil testing also limited. If you can have some machine that using the machine learning technique, the soil can be analyzed, soil test can be analyzed in the village itself. The farmers can insert soil samples in the machine, and the machine can analyze the soil samples using the hyperspectral image processing, like the organic carbon, pH, NPK, major nutrients can be analyzed, and using this machine learning technique, the spectral library that can analyze, and the farmer's mobile, you can get the suggestion information about the preferred crops to be planted, and the soil nourishment plan, and agricultural irrigation schedule, and the planning can be given. So these are some of the technology discussed. So what I say, I come to close this one. The research focus on for the sustainable food production. This should be AI/ML in crop planning and precision use of the machine learning technique or the decision support system in crop planning and precision in food management. So particularly, the modeling scenario should come up very strong and robust one for the land, weather, and family-based crop planning. So people should know based upon what the cash crops, what the crops for the food requirement, and based upon the land type and the weather type and the family need, we can go for the model integration and DSS for farmers field representation and water management to have the proper crop planning. The farmer has a 10-hectare land, so the model should give information what are the partitioning what the crops to plant how much area, not only they get maximum production, at the same time farmers should get the maximum profit as well. So that need the integrated of the models to go for the production and the economic returns and decision making process for a particular farm. The second, crop diversification and integrated farming. Now so you have a decision support system. You don't have a using that one integrated farming. How can that will give information about the partitioning of the land, partitioning of area for different enterprise. So the other one we are taking the crop. You have the crops, which crop you can take in the how much area. But this is integrated farming system. The farmer has 10 hectare land and land type is known. So it can take the crops and also poultry, fishery. So those type of the integrations that this farming, this DSS for the farming system design, that has to come up and that should be communicated to the farmers. And the pest and disease warning model, this is very important. The farmers should know the information like machine learning technique. So that can be used for the give the warning about the pest or the disease appearance. Accordingly, the immediate control measure can be done. And the second one, we are trying for the resource efficient technology. So resource efficient technology is the soil moisture estimation, water management, micro irrigation, automations. So not to go for the flood irrigation or the surface irrigations, waste of water. So applying water as per the need of the crops. Then organic input management like residue recycling, the residue should be included in soils, compost enrichment, biofertilizer, biopesticide, and soil microbe. These are the soil health. That more focus are given how to maintain the soil health. Better soil health, better productions, good quality of the crop produce, and the better human health as well. And mechanization is very important. So now there is availability of labor is limited. The farmers should go for the small land, the land holding mechanizations, conservation tillage, residue management, seeder, and the fertilizer placement. That has harvest. Nowadays, I can see in our area the harvest is mechanized. You see rice harvest mechanized. Planting, though the transplanter are available, but this is not fully adopted by the farmers. Well, mechanism operation like say weeding, those are not fully mechanized. Not mechanization is very limited. So we have to increase for mechanization for the productions. And the third one I will talk about farmers empowerment and the support system. So that's a capacity building of the farmers is very essential. You need to go for the weather and agricultural information. So weather based information has to be communicated to farmers on right time and and for proper interactions, proper implementation, that's essential. Then the market linkage also very essential to know the as a farmer's profitability. Farmers should get the profit, the return of their produce, helping the farmers proper market to sell the produce. So these are some of the information I want to share with you, the use of crop models and the agricultural scenarios. With this, and also particularly for the I am now offering a subject and the SWAIN NPTEL course, crop modeling and simulation for agricultural production management. This course is an online course. The participant from anywhere, they can register the course. This course I am discussing about the DSAT models, this operation of the DSAT models, data inputs, hands-on exercise will be doing through this online training sessions. First, we are discussing theory about the agricultural production systems, basic principles of crop modeling and simulations, then use of the DSAT models, data, all the data files, input data, and simulation exercise. Those in detail is discussed in this course as a crop modeling and simulation for agricultural production management. And candidates from, I think it's an online course from anywhere, I think somebody can register for the subjects. With this, I thank you all.